Hi my friends, my name is Justine, I'm the Mermaid seamstress, and today I'm going to give you tips on how to keep water out of your nose. So this is one of my most frequently asked questions, is how do I keep water out of my nose when I go upside down to do bubble rings, or when I swim upside down, or when I do flips. And it's a really important aspect of being a mermaid because you want to look comfortable and you want to look natural underwater. And you don't want to go underwater and come up and be sneezing and have your nose irritated. It's just not fun for you, and it compromises how natural you look in the water. Now, not like that's the most important thing, but to a lot of people, they like to look good underwater. So I've come up with a set of tips that really helped me, and I hope that they can really help you. The way a lot of people are comfortable going upside down underwater is by blowing bubbles, and that's perfectly okay. It may mean that you can't stay underwater very long after you do your flip or you go upside down, but blowing bubbles is perfectly acceptable, especially when you're doing flips or just swimming upside down. Now, when you're doing bubble rings, it's a little bit harder. One option is you can actually just pinch your nose. That might not look as great though. So what I recommend doing, and this is what I do, is you close your soft palate. So when you're stuffy and whatever, and you talk like this through your nose, you're not actually letting air through your nose, and that can be a really important thing to do. So you can either think talking like that, which closes the passage at the back of your nose where the back of your nose joins to your throat, and that means you can let air out of your mouth without letting it through your nose. Now this may seem a little bit complicated, and you will definitely have to practice doing this underwater before you get it. So what I'd recommend doing is you go underwater, you turn upside down, you let a little bit of air out of your nose, and then you close that soft palate and you start blowing bubbles as if you were going to talk like this. And you could even try talking like this underwater. It sounds really dumb, but it helps to train yourself to close that nasal passage so that it creates a vacuum and no water comes up your nose. Another way of kind of training the same thing is to think about making the K sound. So if you make a K sound, k, 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 that initial portion of pressing your tongue up against the roof of your mouth, the k, that is also going to create that vacuum and close the nasal passage. If you go underwater, let a little bit of air out of your nose, and then put your tongue into that k. So pretend like you're gonna say K, but you can't quite do it. So that's pressing the back of your tongue up against your soft palate, and again, that's gonna close that nasal passage. So practice doing that underwater, and see if you can hold that vacuum so that the water doesn't get up your nose. Now, the second important part to both of those techniques is making sure that when you come up for air, that you let air out of your nose. Because the little water that did get up your nose, that didn't make it all the way to your sinuses, so you're not creating that burning sensation, can actually create that burning sensation when you get out of the water. So you want to make sure that you go down, you create that K or that when you go down, and you do your bubble rings, and then you come up and you release a little bit of air out of your nose again. So again, that's, you go down and you release a little bit of air through your nose, and then you do either your K or your nasal speech. And then when you're coming out, you release water through your nose. It's going to take some practice, and it's going to be a little bit difficult. I know other mermaids have just kind of gotten used to that sensation of having water up their nose, which is fine. It's just not my preference either. So I actually, in a lot of my videos, you don't notice this, but I actually wear a nose plug. And I wear a sinus saver, and a sinus saver is basically, it goes in your nose, as opposed to a clip which goes over your nose, which nose clips are actually not very visible. You can get clear ones that are practically invisible, and I highly recommend those. Those are really easy to use. But what I like about the sinus saver is, one, you guys didn't notice it in a lot of the videos. So if you look at my most recent swim videos, especially the ones that I've done with my GoPro Hero 6, a lot of times I actually do have a nose plug in, and it's really hard to tell because it looks like a septum piercing. That's all it looks like, because it goes into your nose. It's a little clear piece of silicone, and it goes into your nose, and it actually works really great. That's the sinus saver. I have used regular nose clips in the past, and as I said before, they're barely noticeable, and a lot of times kids aren't going to be super judgmental if you're doing a party and you have a nose plug in, especially if you take it off before you surface, and when you're kind of engaging to them one-on-one versus when you're swimming, nobody's gonna notice. And that's one of those things where it's up to you, it's up to your comfort level. If you need to wear a nose plug, you'd be really surprised at how few people are actually gonna judge you for that. Especially mermaids who know the pain of getting water up their nose. It's not fun. And the last tip I'm gonna give you is to make sure that you have some kind of saline solution, or something where if you do get a lot of water up your nose and it's very irritated, that you can flush that out, or at least rehydrate your nasal passages, because that'll help prevent future infections, and it'll also make it a lot more comfortable after your swim. So I hope you found these tips helpful. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Make sure to comment down below if I've missed any tips that you have for keeping water out of your nose. If you're new to my channel, make sure to click subscribe, click the bell notification button so that you don't miss another video. And as always, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, fish friends.